Okay, you should have already practiced your Module 5 review worksheet. So this was all supposed to be done on your own. And to be honest, if you were flipping back into your notes, you should have several examples of each of these problems. So I know that you guys have plenty of resources to do all of these on your own. But if you are finished and you are ready to check your answers, this is going to be the answer key that you can use to make sure you have done each of these problems correctly. I will say the first three are different than they are going to be on Delta Math. The very first Delta Math you did in this unit, it basically just tells you to match this net of what it looks like when it's folded. And I have asked you to do something different. I've asked you to write the name of the object, and that's something that it's going to be good practice for these three, but it will look different on Delta Math. It'll look the way you've been practicing it. So just FYI, if you fold each of these triangles up, it will make a pyramid. And so this is a triangular based pyramid. Triangular. Got to make sure I'm spelling it right. Based pyramid. If you put just pyramid, that's okay, but it is a very specific pyramid that makes this one different than this one. So this pyramid, when you fold it up, it's sitting on the base of a triangle, which is why it's a triangular base pyramid. This one is also a pyramid because when you fold these sides up, it's going to come to a point. So this is also a pyramid, but the base of this pyramid that it's sitting on is square. So this one is a square-based pyramid. Okay. This last one, I don't know that you would even know what it's called, but the shape that it is over and over again that you see is a rectangle. So this is called a rectangular solid, or actually a rectangular prism. So I believe that the Delta Math tells you to match the net with either the pyramid or the prism. So this is a rectangular solid or a rectangular prism. So it is called both things. Sometimes it's called a rectangular solid, sometimes it's called a rectangular prism. Okay, done with that section. This first section, you will not be allowed to use your notes on your test, so you're going to have a formula sheet, and the formula that will be on there for surface area of a square pyramid is going to be, remember, it is base area plus 1/2 the base perimeter times the slant height. So I didn't write out what all those are, but you can look back in your notes and you can see. So for base area, area of the square is length times width to find the base area. So that's 4 times 4, which is 16. And then we're going to multiply 1/2 times the base perimeter. So the perimeter is side plus side plus side plus side. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 16 also. And we're going to multiply that by the slant height. So the height that's slanted is 6. All right, and remember from the notes, you have to multiply first before you can go back and add. That's basic order of operations. So I'm going to do 0.5 times 16 times 6, and that is 48. And then I'm going to go back and add my 16 to it for a grand total of 64. So the surface area here is 64 square meters. All right, so really quickly, same thing. We're going to do the base area. The area of the space is a 3 by 3, so 3 times 3 is 9. Plus, I'm going to do 1/2 of the base perimeter, which the base perimeter is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, which that is 12. And times the slant height. And the slant height is also 3. And remember, we're going to multiply first. So 1/2 times 12 times 3 is 18. And then I'm going to go back to that 18 and add my 9 on. And 9 plus 18 is going to be 27. Okay, again, if you have any questions over any of this, go back into the unit to when we were covering this lesson. All right, The next section down is finding the area of the net. And if you remember, we're basically just finding the area of one triangle and then multiplying it times 4 because there are 4 triangles in this net. So to do triangles, it is half base, which is 8 in this case, times height, which is 6.93. And then that whole thing we're going to multiply by 4 because, again, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles here. So I'm just going to do it in my calculator. So I'm going to do 0.5 times 8 times 6.93 and then times 4 for the grand total of 110.88. All right, let's do the last one on this side. 1/2 base, which is 11, times height, which is 9.53, times 4, because there are 4 triangles in this shape. So 0.5 times 11 times 9.53 times 4. So this one is 209.66. All right, so let's, I don't know why I circled that one. I didn't circle any of the others. But anyway, let's turn the page and go to the back. Keep checking your work. And again, if you need to pause and go back and find out how to do these, you need to do that because you won't be able to use this on your test. All right, let's review how to find volume of rectangular pyramids and prisms. And by the way, this is a new I can statement. So your first test will only be covering what's on the first part of this page. So you'll have one I can statement that you're graded on that's all on the front type of problems, and then you'll have another score put in for how you do on volume, which is all the back page. Okay, so for volume here, remember it's capital base, which means we got some work to do within that capital base, times height, and then divided by 3 because it goes to a point. So the base is not just 17. It's the base area, which is this whole 17 times 7. So it's going to actually look like 17 times 7. Oh, that looks like 17.7. It's going to look like 17 times 7, and then times the h height, which is 14, and then divided by 3. So I'm going to put in my calculator 17 times 7 times 14 equals divided by 3 equals, and it's a weird number, but it tells us to round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to do 555.3. All right, so that is, we don't know, but it's cubic units. All right, oh, this one is a little tricky. Remember, triangle bases are 1/2 base times height. So when we're calculating the B for a triangle base, you need to include half. So I'm going to do half of my 15 by 16, and then times the height, which in this case is 15 again, and then divide by 3. So in my calculator, I've got 0.5 times 15 times 16 times 15 equals divided by 3. And this one came out evenly at 600 units cubed. All right, and then the last one, we're back to a square base, so we don't need to include the half. All we need is the length and width. So we've got 11 times 9 times 14 divided by 3. So 11 times 9 times 14 equals divided by 3, 462. Okay, so moving on now to the cones. Find the volume of a cone that has a height of this, a radius of this. Okay, and then we're rounding to the nearest tenth again. So remember that the formula again for a cone is radius squared times pi times height, and then since it also goes to a point, we're going to divide by 3. So it gave us the radius, which is 5.1. So I'm going to do 5.1 squared times, we're going to use the pi button, times the height, which is 11.4, and then we're going to divide by 3. So 5.1, I'm going to use my squared button. You could have done to the power of 2, that's the same thing, times pi button, don't do 3.14, times 11.4 equals divided by 3 equals 310, and then rounding to the tenths, so 0.5, and that's cubic inches. Okay, the next one is making us practice one that has a diameter. So remember, if you have a diameter, we can't use that. We have to use radius. So we're going to need to take 9.9 and divide it by 2 to find the radius. So 9.9 divided by 2 needs to be our first step. Before you do anything else, take 9.9 and divide by 2 to get your radius. 4.95. Wait, was that what it was? Yeah. So we're going to take that number, square it, times pi, times height. I missed the height. Oh, here it is. 19.4. And then divide that whole answer by 3. All right. So 4.95 squared times pi button times the height, which is 19.4, equals, divided by 3, equals 497. That 8 is going to round the 7 up to an 8. All right. All right, and then you've got 2 to practice that just give you a picture. So you will have some on your test that look like this too. This is the whole diameter, 24. Can't use that. We only need the radius. So the very first thing you should have done is taken 24 and divide by 2, which is 12. And we'll use that. So 12 squared times pi times the height, which is 26, divided by 3. All right, 12 squared times pi times 26 equals, divided by 3, equals 3,920.7. All right, and I don't know the units, so we're just going to say units cubed. All right, this one, yay, it gives us the radius, that's what we need. So we're just going to take 5 and square it, times pi, times the height, which was 10, divide the whole thing by 3. All right, here we go. 5 squared times pi times 10 divided by 3 equals 261.7, and that 9 is going to bump the 7 up to an 8. Units cubed. All right, our last section was our most recent lesson, and that was on spheres. And in case you forgot, the formula for spheres, it was radius, this time cubed, remember, not just squared, times that weird fraction 4/3 times pi. And that's all there is to it. So let's look at the first one. It gives us the radius, thankfully. So we're going to do 8 cubed times 4/3 times pi. And that's it. So 8, and remember, I don't have a cubed button. I know some of you, depending on your calculator, might. So I have to use this little caret key that looks kind of like a rooftop. That means to the power of 3 times 4/3. I have to use my ABC button for 4/3 times pi button equals 2,144.6, but the one after that is going to bump it up, so 0.7, and it does give us meters as our label. Again, on Delta Math, I don't think you put in a label. All right, the next one, I'm sorry to tell you, gives you a diameter. So the first thing you should do is cut that diameter in half. 2.2 divided by 2 is going to be 1.1, right? Yes, 1.1. All right, but 1.1 is the radius, so we can use that to cube it. So 1.1 cubed times 4/3 times the pi button. Here we go. Literally just typing things into a calculator in this unit. 1.1 to the power of 3 times 4/3 times pi equals 5, small one, 0.5, except that number after it is 5 or above, so we're going to give our 5 a shove up to 6. There we go. All right, last one. I hope you guys are doing good and getting these right. This one is once again a radius, so we don't have to cut it in half. We can just use that radius, and it's going to be radius cubed, so 34.2 cubed times 4/3 times pi. All right, so 34.2 to the power of 3 times 4/3 times pi equals really, really big number. 1, 6, 7, 5, 5, 8. So that is 167,558 point, and that 6 is going to be bumped up, so 0.7 meters cubed. All right, I hope you did really well, and if you are ready, you can move on to the online practice test to get ready for the actual test.